Well, hello, you guys. Welcome to Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson. We're on this platform. We have a plethora of discussions around accountability and relationships, and we pretty much talk about everything. It's you guys sitting and processing with me. Oftentimes, I have guests who come on the show and share their insights as well. And on this platform, we talk about some topics that are typically quite controversial. But today it's kind of like a pop-up. Let's call this a pop-up show, right? I had a brief moment while heading into my lunch to kind of cover this topic. This young lady, she sent me this topic suggestion, or should I say this request for support and relationship advice 3 days ago. It's Tuesday. So, kind of like 4 days ago, technically. But so she sent me this, and I've typed some of the details for you guys. I remember there being a time where this was discussed. I want to say something similar to it, given the specifics that she gave me, was discussed on a panel discussion at some point. But without further ado, because I really only have about a good 30 to 35 minutes to kind of really lay this all out for you guys. But the purpose is to leave this here so that you guys can have a chance to sit through, process all of the information, and then essentially you guys give her your biased or unbiased opinions. Of course, this will be my professional advice and personal advice for this particular situation. And I invite those of you who are in the mental health field, behavioral health field, relationship field, relationship coaches, or people just with a plethora of life experience, like real life experience. I invite you guys to really share your sentiments, because I feel like young people oftentimes are not given enough credit for them attempting to overcome some of the barriers that we've been, sometimes learned behavior we've been exposed to over the course of time, trauma, history, etc. Just in our lives, right? In our journey of becoming humans in the experience. So the young lady is a 29-year-old mixed race female. That's how she's identified herself coming through. She said that her father is a white American male and her mom is an Asian American woman. But she immigrated. She's an immigrant. So you guys have to excuse me. My allergies are terrible at the top of each season. They really are. But this is my favorite time of the year. It's finally Friday. We're going to get to this, okay? 29 years old. And she is currently seeing a guy who is 30. I think he's 35. He's either 35 or 36. Because I'm not going to read the whole long drawn out email that she sent to me, because I just don't have time. But she's dating him, and he is a Black male. And she has some questions about culture, about some of the things that we see as norms, should I say, in Black culture, and what it means to date a person who currently has children. This young lady has no kids of her own, and she doesn't intend to have children until she's married. These people have been dating for 3 years, I think she's been seeing him for 3 years. You guys have the majority of the overview in the description, wherever you guys are catching me on the live. but they have been dating for that length of time, okay? And to give you guys a little bit of context, I am going to give you some of the background information that she gave me because I think that's important for you guys to give her advisements. But her situation specifically is she started dating this guy, and of course, he's from Black culture. He's a Black guy, and she really likes the guy, and she's hoping that one day they get married, they have their own family. However, in the beginning of the relationship, she states that he gave her an overview that he is in a system. He's indebted to a system. He's a father. He has kids. He and the mother are no longer together. And I'm listening and doing the math. That means that he and the mother broke up fairly early after she had the child. And my sentiments are kind of around that piece as well. So his child is almost 4 years old. They've been dating for 3 years. I want you to keep that in mind. Okay. And she's hoping that they get married one day. But in his overview of his situation, I guess when they first started talking to each other and deciding to date or see each other, he explained to her that as a father who is co-parenting with another person, there are some responsibilities that he has to that previous system. And he is indebted to that system in some way. There are some boundaries that the mother of his child, and they had a brand new baby at that point, had set for what life looks like for him and for her when it came to dating. And some of those rules are not having another person around their child at that point, right? So the other person that you're dating can't have access to the kid because they're hoping that, it helps protect the child in some way. I don't know. But he gave her that and she respected that. So all of these years that they've been dating, she's not met his child. And as I said, the child is almost 4 and they've been dating for 3 years. She said recently, the last couple of months, because the child is getting a little bit older and has gone to preschool last year, dad is now having days where he's staying overnight with mom in order to read to his daughter, put his daughter to sleep, help her in any way necessary because mom is allegedly going to nursing school and things like that now. But he's having these moments where he's staying overnight at the ex's house doing his fatherly co-parenting duties. And she doesn't have access to him and can't contact him during that time because she's trying to respect his wishes and respect the fact that he is a co-parenting father and that is their time together. Very much like, the previous moments where they've had dinners together because weekly they do, and they've always had dinners together. They've always been a functional co-parenting system, the way she describes it in her email. Her issues are, of course, whether or not it's normal for co-parenting, healthily co-parenting systems to have that joint parent time with the two parents when there is a young baby involved or a young child involved. And if it's okay for him to now be spending the night with the child, right? There are some concerns there for her. Now, the things that I thought about, right? She wants to know what are her next steps? What should she do? How should she gauge a conversation if there even is a conversation that should be had, right? A couple of things stood out for me. It's the fact that you're willing to, I feel like cross-cultural dating is fine. However, I think that you need to be curious about the culture that you're immersing yourself in, some of the customs and traditions that are common for those people. And you need to be having the conversations with those people and people that are a part of their systems. I'm okay with the initial rendition given to her by the young man when he's saying that we have a rule that nobody is to be around our children. But you've been dating this guy for 3 years. And there are differences, right? There are some key differences between an evolving system that has respectful boundaries, that has respectable practices, that comes in a form that aligns with your relationship goals that you have with that person. And I always say it's really difficult to date a person that's already a part of an established system if you don't even have an established system yourself, because you don't have anything to refer to as normative or red flag driven, you know? And I guess that could be a disadvantage. It could be a disadvantage for sure. However, I am hoping that once she has an opportunity to really like sit with the content of that you guys are going to give her, that I am going to give her, hopefully she can come to a place to where she understands what her next step should be. Okay. Now, couple of things, right? The fact that his evolution includes him spending the night at the ex's house, and that's not something that was stated in what could be expected initially, is that brings up all sorts of red flags and concerns. But you've allowed that to happen over a course of months. The fact that even that first snippet about him not having anybody around his child, but you guys have been seeing each other now for 3 years, all of that. It's the fact that for me, you're dating somebody who recently had a breakup with a person that recently had a child with them, and they are still very much engaged in the process of having a relationship of some sort. All of these things are red flags for me. I think that in general, it does take somewhere around a year for a person to go through a full pregnancy and have a child. Okay. And sometimes there are a plethora of emotions that that person goes through, that the person they're having the child with goes through. And you have to allow another year, an additional year, for that thing to settle into place as to what it'll look like. And sometimes people require 2 years after having a child before they're in a healthy place to establish some safe and sound and reasonable principles around what life looks like without one another if they're going to break up. I think you my thing is, I think she just jumped into this situation and started dating this guy prematurely. He didn't have a chance to really get himself to where he needed to be in the aftermath of a breakup. And to be in a relationship with someone who is a co-parent and indebted to another system, you need to have healthy and clear boundaries that give you a sense of security in what it is that you're intending to build with them. It's one thing to be a side chick or an extra companion or something like that. It's another thing to be expecting marriage to come about from this, and then you're potentially looking at building a family with this person. What does that look like? All of the time that you've spent building and dedicating that to that person, and then you guys have kids and you've not even been around his previous child at all to even know what that looks like when it comes time for you to introduce your child to that person. So those are some of the things that stand out for me. In my mind, I think you should have a conversation with him around healthy boundaries. Spending the night and spending the night at another woman's house and saying that you're spending time with your child and I have no access to that kid. I have no access to the kid's mom, the woman that you are staying at our house overnight. And I can't even access you, and you're my person. We've been in a relationship for 3 years. It says that we have, it means I've been a side chick, perhaps. And it says it gives off your married vibes, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know. My advice would be take a step back, look at what it is that you've built with this person, look at what the boundaries were when you entered into the relationship, what were some of the agreements that you had with them, and ask yourself if the questions that you have for myself are based on the fact that you already know that you're ready to end this. But you need validation because really we have to listen to our gut. If our gut is telling us that this thing isn't what it's cracked out to be, or this person isn't who they have presented to be, or they don't want the same things as us, or whatever it is, right? Oftentimes our gut and our intuition is spot on. And we have to go with that. But it doesn't mean that we go with that without, exploring an in-depth conversation as to what you know this really is, right? During a fact finding situation. But you definitely need to explore with yourself whether or not you're okay with your significant other that you've been seeing for all this time having moments where they're spending the night at another woman's house, whether they're saying they're spending time with their child or not, because that's not something that you can confirm or deny yourself through your own investigation, because you don't even have access to them, right? um the other piece is 3 years is a long time. And I know this generation of folks do not believe or invest in marriage like most, or whatever. However, 3 years is a long time to date somebody, and we're not even engaged. We're not even looking at what marriage would look like. And you're still not introducing me to this kid that you have with somebody else that you're no longer with. You can't spend the night. You can't be spending the night at that person's house just randomly, and I have no access to you. I could understand if this person is in, she mentioned, that the mom is allegedly in nursing school or something. If she's in school and she needs you to, create safe haven, a space for your kids together, you could have your kid at your house. You could pick up your kid, you could watch your kid, you could do the things you need, and then you could take the child and drop the child back off at her house, or the child could spend the night at your house. Why are these things happening? And you're allowing more and more things to unfold, because the reality is a person that you're with in a relationship will only do what you allow them to do. Okay. I think we need to be cognizant of that. If you continue to allow chaos to ensue, if you continue to allow people to make up things as they go, if you continue to allow a person to be flexible and do what they want to do in a relationship with you, and disregard your emotions and your feelings and set the parameters of the relationship without consulting you or involving you in the process, they will continue to do that. But over time, they will escalate, because everything in time evolves. Your relationship parameters is supposed to evolve, but it's not supposed to evolve to the point where it no longer includes an inclusive conversation or collaboration with the partner as to what it looks like. Okay. So those are my thoughts. You guys have the specifics of her situation that are pertinent to you giving her advisement in your descriptions wherever you're catching me live. Um, yeah, let her know what you think she should do. And in the comments, and I will share it with her Monday. I'll send her a link to the video then. So I will say, I'm sure she'll catch it herself though if she's on YouTube. And I do encourage you guys that are catching me on the other platforms that I'm sharing on to come to YouTube to leave your comments if you have any, because I think it's important for this young lady to be able to get some level of resolve as to what it is she needs to do in this situation. And sometimes it helps to come from a clinician, and sometimes it helps to come from a person that's just a regular lay person in society going through their own experiences. And again, I say that these are not just my clinical recommendations, but they're also my personal ones. I wouldn't recommend my daughters to be in a relationship with someone who has a child with someone else previously at your age. I wouldn't. I wouldn't advise that. However, if they found themselves in a relationship with someone that had a child previously, these these parameters at this length of time would be a total red flag to move on at about maybe 8 months for me. Because the thing is, like, you're not people when you know, you know. And even if you don't know, you have a general idea within about 6 to 8 months. You have a general idea as to where you want to go with that relationship. So if you're still not ready to commit, if you're still not ready to do anything serious, I think that you need to be then having another kind of conversation with that other person. And if that's happening and they continue to want to be in that relationship with you, then fine. But yeah, it wouldn't work for me. It wouldn't work for me. Mm-mm. No, this situation, this scenario, and the way that it's going out, it just simply would not work for me. And I think maybe you need to sit and understand that your father is no longer around, but I would maybe have a conversation with some other men in my system, um, even friends, and just ask yourself, like, am I doing what's healthy for me? Because at the end of the day, you need to be concerned with self. In a relationship, I know people have so many negative connotations along with, people being selfish. But in order for you to show up as your best version of self, you do have to be selfish in relationships. You have to focus on self because a healthy sense of self is what leads to you giving 110% of you in a healthy way to an already established relationship. So, or even into building and establishing a relationship with someone else. So I would say focus on yourself and notice what it is that you find that you're not getting that you need from your intimate partner, that it appears on the surface that he's giving it somebody else, and then have that conversation, because the reality is not that it's important that he's giving it somebody else. It's important that you're not getting it. So those are my sentiments. I hope that this helps. Hopefully you'll have a couple of comments or a couple of directives from the viewers, and I hope that things find themselves in a new or at least positive space for you soon. All right, that's all I've got. Later days. Bye.